What's that? Oh, is that a tunnel between here and
It is not.
the outside? Oh.
It is.
If you want to stand right where Genesis was standing,
it is where our Lord and Savior resides.
just stand right there. But
Okay.
no,
Right
like
in the
the hole, in the hole, yeah, in the
Right in the
middle.
hole. Right in the hole.
Okay.
Okay.
Genesis, do me a favor and hit the button.
Button hit.
That's where I don't know if you notice all these lecterns up here with the books. That's where Kevin's gonna live. And then when we need him, we just go, "Hey, Kevin." And there you
That's
are.
awesome. That's awesome.
So-
Well done.
Thank you.
Well
It took me a
done.
while to do that redstone. Probably the most complicated redstone I did this week. But anyways, let's jump into this.
Jumping in. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just get my
Oh,
thing up and going. I want to make sure I get my
Hold on.
link set up. On
ladies
the
and
old
gentlemen,
Facebook.
please hold. Please hold.
Yes.
Please stand by technical difficulties so far.
Technical difficult time. We're wasting time here. Woo, woo, woo.
Oh, just sharing it.
Do we say anything about Mr. Trebek?
Sure. He was a fine fellow.
What is sad, you know?
It's sad.
Very.
All right. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one and all to Crafting a Chat, episode 15.
Episode 15.
Solid 15 episodes under our belts where we will be talking about a myriad of subject matter, hopefully to entice some intrigue and conversation, not just amongst us, our fellow panel here of Genesis, Adam, and your boy Giuseppe Jones, but also for any of you. Please send us your comments, send us your questions. We want to get you involved. Please do so. You are welcome here. Everyone is welcome to Craft the Chat. And with that, let's launch right into things. And gentlemen, what have you been playing recently?
Oh, I'll start. I think again, I've been just playing Legends. I picked up COD again, I think 2 nights ago. I think it was after you and I played, Adam. I think we were we played Legends. You hopped off, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play some COD. I hopped in there for a couple matches, played a few matches. It was mindless fun. That's usually what I play COD for, just to drown some time out and just mindless fun. It is going to get a PS5 patch, which it already did, so I am interested to see if I'm able to obtain a PS5, what this looks like on new-gen consoles, because apparently Destiny got patched for 120 frames per second, so I wonder if they can do that with other shooters. But that's what I've been playing.
Interesting. Adam, what have you been playing?
Mostly Minecraft, honestly. As everyone will see next week when we're outside. We're in a winter wonderland now for the season. That was mostly hand-placed. I had our friend Kevin help with that quite a bit, and then I had the idea of making snowmen that did most of the work after that. So, yeah, so done a lot of that. Changed a couple things. You'll notice with the sets, they're a little bit different. Genesis got 2 campfires. This thing in the middle is going to be where our Google Master lives, but you'll see more about that when he's here. Played more Ghost of Tsushima Legends. Getting all them legendary items. I have 11 out of the 20. Everyone hates me for it. Yep, see? Everyone hates me for it. Because I think, Genesis, how many legendary items do you have?
I have...
like 4?
No, like maybe 8.
Oh, 8,
but
okay.
A lot of them are the same. So in total, like different items, maybe like 4 or 5.
Okay, yeah. I have 11 out of the 20 different legendary items, because every time we play, I get a legendary item. I don't know why, and I'm sorry.
Is there a trophy for that?
There is not. It's just the game just likes me. No idea why. But yeah, I haven't really been playing too much of anything except Minecraft, listening to music, Minecraft, just getting ready for PS5. So, Giuseppe, what have you been hitting the buttons for?
Well, I mean, I unfortunately got myself back into playing a little bit of NBA 2K20. If for any other reason, I didn't really have anything else in my library to play on, and I wasn't feeling my backlog. Also, really not feeling Vampire. The game is still busted and broken. I'm just, I feel, I know I've said it before, I'll say it again. I feel really bad for people that spent a full 60 on that one. Because to this day, it's still busted in terms of just, functionality.
That was a full release.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a full release, yeah. So I've been playing a little bit of 2K20, a little bit more mindful of like the heavy, commercialization of those games. I understand like all the sports games are doing that for lots of reasons. Obviously, all the cross-promotional, cross-advertising opportunities that they throw in there. In a way, it enhances the realism of like the simulation aspect of sports games, but at the same time, it's also, man, every loading screen is just commercials, and every time like you cut away to like timeouts, for instance, during gameplay, it's just commercials on commercials. I mean, like, in NBA 2K20 alone, there's Heavy Beats, Gatorade, Nike, Jordan, State Farm.
Farms on there too. Oh my god.
Yeah, oh yeah, the State Farm assist of the game. You get it every game. Yeah, it's just so much being bombarded. It's like, wait a minute, I just want to play a video game. I don't want to watch like TV commercials. I really don't. No. So that's a little bit annoying, but honestly, like I've been trying to get back more into a subject matter that I was going to be introducing tonight. A little bit of board game actions. It's games of a different variety, but yet also still having an electronic aspect to it. So, but I will save that for my segment later on. But that's basically what I've been up to.
All right. Whose segment is first then?
I can go first, Giuseppe, if you'd like to, or
Adam,
we can do the quiz.
I can go first. You guys want to do the quiz first?
I am good to do the quiz.
Well, whatever you'd like to do. Yeah,
I say let's do the quiz first. All right, here,
Cool.
take that.
All right, let's.
Okay, I take that.
And take
This
that.
is an interactive episode.
This is an interactive episode. Pick up that book. Pick it up.
So I have it.
You
I
better
have it.
pick it up. All right.
Pick it up. Pick up that
So
book.
if you L2 on the book, you can write in the
Okay.
book. There's 15 questions. I'm going to read them. You're not going to talk out loud because I want to see your answers. And then when we're done, you're going to sign the book and hand it over to me. And then we're going to go through the real answers. So, yeah. So everybody, it's a PlayStation centric quiz. It kind of goes all over the place. It's not easy. It's not the easiest quiz in the world. I'm pulling it up. That's why I'm still talking. So just give me one moment.
PlayStation, power to the player.
I'll discard.
I have a lot of smoke coming out of my campfire.
It's a blue fire.
I have a red one, orange fire behind me.
All right, let's do this. Let me close out the YouTube.
So we just click into the page, and that will let us write an answer?
Yep. It's multiple choice, so this should be pretty easy for you.
Okay.
The first question. How much did the PlayStation 1 cost at launch? There's a hint for this one. Sega was $100 more. A, $399. B, $349. C, $299. Or D, $449. And I can repeat those if you guys want.
Got my answer locked in.
Got it locked in, all right. Giuseppe, you good?
I'm good.
Okay, this one's a little bit longer. In November of 2010, the Air Force Research Laboratory created a powerful supercomputer by connecting together 1,760 Sony PS3s. This included like 168 separate graphical processing units and 500 teraflops. As built, the Condor cluster was the 11th largest supercomputer in the world and would be used to analyze high-definition satellite imagery. Is that true or false? A for true, B for false.
Okay.
A lot of numbers in there, so careful.
All right, I'm good.
Genesis, you're good too?
I'm good.
All right. Question 3. In what month and year did PlayStation Home deactivate their servers? A, March 2015, B, November 2014, C, July 2014, or D, August 2013?
Oh man, can you go over the
That's
choices
a good
one more
question.
time?
Yeah. A, March 2015, B, November 2014, C, July 2014, or D, August 2013?
I think it's.
Hmm?
Well, think to yourself.
Think choose? Yeah.
I might be wrong on that one, but I think it's that.
Everybody good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
And in a way, I feel like this does honor Alex Trebek's memory, even though I had this idea last week. But I feel like this is a good segment to dedicate to him.
I agree.
Question 4 is a fill in the blank.
Nice.
Who was the first mascot for PlayStation? And the hint is he was canceled before he was actually used.
The first mascot for PlayStation brand ever.
Yes, but he was never used.
But he was never used.
Correct. Yeah, he was canceled before. There's also a double hint here. He pops up as the ending boss for PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Now, does anybody remember his name?
I don't know anything about that game.
Yeah, I knew this was going to mess with Genesis, but if you don't know, just make up a name.
Okay.
I know. I can picture the dude's. I can picture the boss right now, and I don't know its name.
You gotta know his name.
Oh, what was it?
Really? So he was a mascot that wasn't used.
He was a mascot, and they were going to use him, but one of the PlayStation bosses.
Well, can I ask a very generic kind of question? Like,
absolutely.
Is this a mascot that still exists in anywhere in reality? Like, or is it just
he is not used at all? The only thing I know that he popped up in is PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale.
No kidding.
If it helps, his name is part of like a graphical unit that the first PlayStation used, and that consoles continued to use for a while. I don't believe they use them anymore because we've evolved beyond them. So
I don't.
I don't know, so I'm gonna put in something.
Just put in something funny, make me laugh. Maybe I'll give you a point.
All right.
You both good?
Moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on. Yeah.
All right. The next one is a true or false. PlayStation 1 discs were black because the PlayStation 1 could only read black discs as a copyright protection. This function was not in the PlayStation 1 that was like the newer version. Is that A, true, B, false?
Okay,
this next one's a 4-parter.
Oh, God.
But it's an easy 4-parter. So the options you have are yes, no, represent a player's head, the menu. Which one is which for the buttons? Which one is triangle? Which one is circle? Which one is X? Which one is square? And it's yes, no, the player's head, and a menu. They each mean something.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. You're gonna have to tell that to me one more time.
So the answers, you have to just connect which one's which.
Okay,
one means yes, one means
Uh-huh.
no, one means the player's head, and one represents a menu.
Okay, so I assign X, circle, triangle, and square
To each of
to each of those.
correct. I'll give
Okay.
you some time here if you guys need that.
Yeah.
Do they not have a symbol? Okay.
I don't know. You can put T for triangle and like circle, C for circle, or O for circle. That's fine. It really doesn't matter. This was used for a while, but most games just started going their own way, by the way. So it's not used typically anymore.
Okay.
I'm almost there.
Yeah, well, give me some time. Genesis, how you feeling about this quiz so far?
I really wish I knew that answer for the All Stars Battle Royale one, because I can already tell you I know the damn boss and I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what the boss's name was. I beat that boss too with a bunch of characters.
Okay, I'm good.
All right. So we're at question 8 out of 15.
Question
no,
8? I thought
no,
we
we're
were
at
on
7. We're on 7. Guys, can't
Okay.
count. This one is also a true or false. The PlayStation 3 font used the same font as the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy until 2009. A for true, B for false.
Okay.
All right.
All right, now we're on 8. We're more than halfway after we finish this one. What is Sony's tech mascot? So you probably don't know what that means, but it's something they use to figure out, like, this is how they show off their tech. A, ping pong balls. B, rubber ducks. C, dynamic weather. Or D, some quantic dream shit.
I think it's...
This one's easier than the rest because it's only really A, B, and C. So.
Okay.
Okay. In what year was PlayStation 2 production halted worldwide? A, 2008, B, 2014, C, 2011, or D, 2013?
Okay.
Question 10. What is the operation software of the PlayStation 4? A, XMB 2.0, B, Orbis, C, Vita, or D, unnamed proprietary OS?
Okay.
What were indie PlayStation 3 games called? Fill in the blank. They were called PlayStation blank. They were very cheap little games. Big old hint there.
Oh, I should know this.
You should know this. We've talked about it a few times.
We have.
I feel like I'm watching an E3 conference and I can remember the guy saying it, but I don't, my mind's blocking out the word that he said.
Oh man, there was a whole section for it. Come on. You guys know this.
No. No, this is gonna suck for me.
Oh damn. Hang on.
I'll just put that in. All right.
Genesis, you good?
Yeah.
All right. Question 12. The PlayStation Control Pad was released in 1994 without any sticks. What year was the dual analog controller released? A, 1995, B, 1996, C, 1997, or D, 1998?
I remember when I bought mine. I don't remember when.
Yeah.
I remember when I bought a PS1 with the stick.
I think this is something that I always forget, that dual analog sticks were not part of the controller.
Yeah, it wasn't an original.
That shocks me. That still shocks me.
God, imagine this thing without sticks. It's like, what?
Look, how would we play literally anything?
No longer, right? Yeah. Well, I'm good.
Good. Genesis, you good? All right. Question number 13, and continuing with dual analog sticks, what was the first game to require the use of the dual analog stick? A. Spyro, B. Metal Gear Solid, C. Ape Escape, D. Siphon Filter.
Okay.
Genesis, you good, or you still thinking?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm
Oh,
good.
okay.
I'm good.
All right, 14. What is the best-selling game for the PlayStation 1? A. Ridge Racer, B. Metal Gear Solid, C. Gran Turismo, or D. Crash Bandicoot?
I'm good.
Okay.
All right. And I said this was a PlayStation-centric quiz. The 15th question is not about PlayStation. It's a
Nice.
true or false. The first Xbox Live Arcade game was Miss Pac-Man. A, true, B, false.
I think so. And I sign it now, right?
Yeah,
All right,
if you're
sign it.
good with your answers, you sign it, you're done. Man, this should have been longer. We did not. It's only been like 14 minutes, guys. So
Do you
We're
want
gonna
us
go
to put
over
it
all the
in?
answers.
You want us to put it in under the author, or?
yeah, sign it, name it, like do all that. Sign it up, close it. Let me know when you're ready. I'll come around for your books. How do you guys think you did?
Pretty bad.
Really?
Yeah, pretty bad.
Okay.
But this was that was a challenging
I
quiz.
said it was going to be a tough one. I didn't want to be like, oh, the
There you
PlayStation
go.
started with the blah 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 blah.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I'm seeing some good answers.
I'm not gonna lie though. You
Uh-oh.
probably could have tossed us a couple softballs in there. I'm
No.
just putting it out there.
The reason I didn't because I warned you that it wasn't going to be any softballs. All right.
Giuseppe, he warned us.
I did warn you.
Yeah. Well, still though, you still could have. Just saying.
Wow. You guys did this in completely different ways, which is amazing. How do you flip pages? Oh, there you go. I figured it out. All right. The first question was how much did it cost? A, $3.99, C, $2.99. Z is a color that guys, I just had a stroke. Genesis, you put $2.99. Genesis, you put $2.99.
Yeah.
Giuseppe, oops.
Oh, we're blowing stuff up.
guys,
going on?
there's a lot. Giuseppe,
breathe.
you put A, $3.99. The correct answer is $2.99. So,
Yeah.
Genesis, your job is to keep track of your points. Giuseppe, your job is to keep track of your points.
That's all right. I'm not going to be getting too many points though. That's all
So, $3.99 is what Sega went for.
I got you.
good.
Each
Okay.
point
For
I
some
guess
odd
I get
reason,
a
I was thinking that the Sega was actually 500. So
I know. That's why because I was like, okay, I think in my mind, for me, I would assume 500. I don't know why, but that's what I did.
I did remember at that generation that when Sega was coming out, the price point was like absolutely ridiculous, and people were like, "Oh, this is way too much." But anyway, regardless.
All right, question 2, the one about the Air Force Research Laboratory. You both got it wrong. That was false. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm giving you both half a point because you were either gonna get a full point or a half a point for this one. Because the only part that was false about it was I said it was the 11th. Most powerful or largest supercomputer in the world. It was 33rd, so it wasn't even close to being 11th. But you're still getting a half a point, so
Okay.
be proud. I know. This quiz
1.5.
makes no sense. 1.5 for you. All right. The next one was, what year did PlayStation Home deactivate their servers? Your options were March 2015, November 2014, July 2014, or August 2013. You both said July 2014. You both were incorrect. It's March 2015.
Oh,
You know,
it
and I
hung
was
in there.
thinking 2015. I was like, maybe that's too long. I thought it was
I
2014.
know.
I was thinking that too.
So
Yeah.
the reason you might be thinking it's 2014 is because they announced it was shutting down in November of 2014, but then it would actually go like dead in March of 2015, and that's when it died.
Wow. There you go.
Rip.
There you
Rip.
go. There you go. All right. Oh boy. Good answers for this one. Who was the first mascot for PlayStation? Genesis, you put Falconeer 256.
I don't know why. I
What is
know
that?
who it is. I don't know.
No
I just
idea.
had to think of something. I was like, what? I don't know. It was some
Giuseppe?
obscure name.
You put Captain Commando. Also not correct.
Right. Yeah.
The correct answer is Polygon Man.
God, and he is made out of
Polygon
polygons. God
Yes.
damn.
Yes. Now
Polygon Man.
that's what my hint about the graphics thing. It's a difficult one. I didn't expect anybody to get this answer.
I seen his face in my head because I know I beat him a couple times with a couple people from All Stars Battle Royale. And I'm like, why? I can't remember his name. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. So question 5: the PlayStation 1 discs were black because PS1. Blah 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 blah. Genesis, you said false. Giuseppe, what did you say? Oh, you both said false.
Yeah.
No, guys, you both got it right. Good job. 1 point. The black disc literally did nothing. It was PlayStation thought it looked cooler. People
Right.
thought that it was actually like a copyright protection thing. It's not.
Yeah. No, it just looked. Yeah, I
It just
remember
looks
because
cool.
I played burned discs on it.
Oh yeah,
so,
all the time. Yeah, no.
So yeah.
But that was a big thing. And then this one's a fun one for you guys to keep track. The next one, because this is what do the face buttons mean? Genesis, you put X is yes, circle equals no, triangle equals head, and S equals menu. You got 50%, so you got a half a point.
50. Okay, so what do triangle and square mean?
Oh, you got triangle and square correct.
Don't tell me it was the Japanese way where
It's
circle
the
is yes and
Japanese
X.
way.
I was gonna clarify that question and be like, is it the Japanese way or U.S. way? But I was like, that's a dumb question. It's U.S. way because we're in the
Giuseppe,
U.S. But
you got no points because you
I
did
got
square
no
as
points?
head. Yeah, you did square as head and triangle as menu. Those are flipped, and then X and circle are also flipped. So no points.
Oh, good.
So,
God,
Good.
this isn't fair. It should have been like in Japan, not in the
no.
U.S. Because
Genesis, relax. You're winning, and you're gonna win this game, so it's all right. It's fine.
well, you never
Just
know.
relax. No, I know.
All right, PlayStation 3 used the same font as Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy until 2009. A is true, B is false. Giuseppe, you said false. Genesis, you said true. Genesis, you are correct. They used the same
There you
font
go.
because they believed it showed synergy between them. I thought that was dumb too. I did the same thing. And then, what is Sony's tech mascot? Genesis, you put ducks. And Giuseppe, you put... Oh my god, I have to keep flipping. Hold on. Ooh. What is it? 8? This is 8, right? Yeah, this is 8.
yeah,
Yeah. You put... What did you put? Oh, you put A, which is ping pong balls. It's rubber ducks. Genesis, you were correct on that.
duckies,
Rubber ducks.
Yes.
duckies.
In Metal
You know
Gear
why I thought
Solid
of-
2,
Yeah.
there's rubber duckies. Also, there was a PlayStation Network game called Super Rub-a-Dub, which was
That's
based on
the
the...
game I was thinking about.
you got it. You got it. Maybe I should have thrown some softballs now that I think about this.
Yep.
All right. And then, in what year was PlayStation 2 production halted worldwide? How are you guys feeling about this one?
No. No. I have 1.5 points, so I don't feel good about any of my answers.
I got 5.
All right. Genesis, you said 2014, which is upsetting because Giuseppe said 2013, and Giuseppe is correct.
Damn.
Ooh.
Yeah. So there's
I
one
guess
for you.
Wasn't Brazil still having PS2s in 2014? Or okay, maybe that was 2013.
That was 2013, yeah. Yep. All right, let's see. This one, I think. Okay, so for the system, the operating system for the PlayStation 4, Genesis, you said unnamed. And Giuseppe, you
I
said...
did-
Oh,
I
you
said the
also
same
said
as well.
unnamed. Orbis is the correct answer.
When did they name this Orbis?
Remember that the PlayStation 4, its rumored name was Project Orbis. If y'all don't remember the rumors
this
from PS3 and
menu-
PS4. The menu is
This
called
menu
Orbis.
is Orbis?
Yes. PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 is unnamed operating system, unnamed proprietary operating system. PlayStation 3 is the XMB. PlayStation 4 is Orbis. And PlayStation 5 is not yet named, that we know of.
I thought they named it Cards.
Well, there's cards, but the operating system itself is not named,
Oh.
as far as I know. Okay, for the next one was fill in the blank of what were the indie PlayStation 3 games called. Giuseppe, what did you think they were called?
I thought they were called Sandbox.
They were not called Sandbox. Oh, Genesis, what did you put? You put Pix?
PlayStation Pix.
PlayStation Minis, guys.
Minis! Oh, they were called Minis!
They were
Yeah, I
called
remember that.
PlayStation Minis.
Damn it!
Yep. All right. Question 12. Let's see here. The PlayStation Control Pad was released in 1994. When was the dual analog stick released? You said 1996, Genesis, and you said
I said 97.
97. Giuseppe, you are correct. 97 it is.
Damn. 3.5 versus
3.5
5.
points. 3.5 points.
Oh, okay. That's easy. All right. So then, Genesis, for the, what was the first game to require the use of the dual analog stick? You said, Siphon Filter. The correct answer is Ape Escape. Giuseppe,
I got that one.
You got that one correct as well.
4.5. Oh my god!
The
comeback
next
is
one,
on.
the next one. What is the best-selling game for the PlayStation 1? Genesis, you said Crash. The correct answer is Gran Turismo.
Yep,
Giuseppe,
I got
you
that
got that
5.5.
point.
You are beating me now.
Gran Turismo. You got to understand about Gran Turismo. That
Big game.
may not be a huge thing in this continent, but Europe and Asia, good lord. Gran
Bonus?
Turismo is the thing.
Bonus
Yeah.
question. How many people were on the team of the first Gran Turismo?
5.
Genesis?
10.
We're doing Price is Right rules. The answer is 7. Giuseppe, good job. No actual points, because you're already in the lead.
All right.
And then the last question, the first Xbox Live Arcade game was Miss Pac-Man. Genesis, you said true. Giuseppe, you also said true.
I did say true.
Congratulations to Giuseppe, the winner with the most points.
By
And,
half a point.
Wow.
Then
And
he
getting-
said, "Oh, I'm not going to get many points."
and
Look at
getting the
him.
last question correct. You both got it correct. Good job. Giuseppe,
Nice
you win.
job, Giuseppe. By
Wow.
half a point.
Wow.
Absolutely
I was not.
fantastic.
I was
You-
not expecting that.
you came
I
back.
Started so poorly.
You
so
did,
poorly.
but the thing is, I went through your book and I was like, let me look at the last ones, and you were like C C C C A, and I was like, he win. So yeah, that's the quiz. This was really fun to do. This was
I
fun to
agree.
make.
This was super fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun to
We gotta
make.
do this.
I plan to do another one, probably like around the game studios, like Insomniac and all of them, like the first party studios. I'll try to throw some softballs in there, and I might actually bring it up to 20 questions. But actually, it's been 27 minutes. But I think this is where I'm going to end my segment, because honestly, this was a lot of fun, and it went really well, and I thank you both for playing.
Awesome. Thank you for having it. It was
Yeah.
I really
Hell
had a
yeah.
lot.
Yeah, that was
You need
good.
to show me. You need to show me how to do that, because I would love to do one for one myself. Yeah.
I honestly just Googled PlayStation trivia and then made questions about it, and I made an Excel sheet.
Oh well, I mean,
So-
like how to actually do it in Minecraft, because I still
Oh.
don't know how to manipulate Minecraft so much. So
Oh, what do you mean? Like the books stuff?
yeah, the books and stuff. Yeah.
I like how you both named your books like "Here You Go, Bum" and "I Did Poorly." So, just want you guys to know.
There you go.
Well, there you go. There.
But yeah, all right. Who's going next?
Well, you know what? I'll go next.
Okie
Unless
dokie.
Genesis, are you feeling some news? Like, what are you feeling?
No, that's just discussion points in the end. You
All
can go.
right.
We're good.
So I had introduced to the panel earlier on, and once again, opening things up to any of our millions and millions of fans, viewers,
Mhm.
subscribers, and whatnot. Please chime in if you have anything you'd like to say in regards to this subject matter. But I had mentioned earlier at the beginning of our chat about how I was getting back into doing some board games. And board games, believe it or not, I had actually had the opportunity to visit my local board game shop, where they sell like all kinds of collectibles, comic books, all kinds of other things too. And I asked them, when COVID hit and businesses ground to a halt in general. I know a number of these types of stores of small businesses, private owners, not necessarily franchises, and business in general suffered because of COVID. And I asked them, I said, hey, so you guys have a really good, big, clean store, a lot of variety, a lot of merchandise to sell. How did you guys do for the whole crisis? And he's like, actually, we did some of our best sales ever. Because guess what? People were locked in their homes,
Mhm.
and chances are they had more than just one person. Not everybody got locked away in their apartments, in their homes, or their hovels solo, and they had family to deal with. And as a result, these kind of shops saw a huge uptick in the sales of board games. And while I'm not here to talk specifically about board games in general and how awesome they can be, I'd actually like to draw our audience's attention to app-driven board games. In particular, the Mansions of Madness series of games, as well as the Lord of the Rings Journey into Middle-earth. Both are app-driven games. Both are published by Fantasy Flight Games. And they are very involved tile-laying games where players take on the role of pre-designated characters that you collect in the base game, as well as expansions to these games, not just in physical form, but also in DLC that you download from the App Store. And it's a really fun way to experience board games. So I don't know if either of you guys what's your experience and or following with board games in general? Like, have you had it? Like, have you done one recently, or do you have any experience playing board games? Genesis, Adam, what do you think? What do you say?
I've had my basic board games are usually like Monopoly and stuff like that. Monopoly, Clue, Guess Who, things like that. I think I've done Life, as well.
Uh huh.
Uh,
So
and
those are
then
definitely the basics, yeah.
yeah,
Adam,
just
what
the
about
basic
you?
ones.
Similar, more basic stuff. Big fan of Clue, or not Clue. Never fan of Clue actually. Big fan of
Oh,
Life when I was younger. Hate it now. Haha. Monopoly. Never lost Monopoly in a physical setting. I always get them trains. My luck for that is just real high. Um, so I have no friends now. But
hmm.
yeah, no, not too many board games for me.
Railroads are a solid strategy for Monopoly. Not
They
gonna
are.
lie. So,
They are.
but app-driven board games. The reason I got into them was mainly because, well, Mansions of Madness, the second edition base set, was actually gifted to me by my wife because it was on sale. And we were kind of like getting into like little mystery kind of TV shows through Netflix and whatnot, and it seemed based on the cover art of the game that it was going to be involved in stuff like that. Well, Mansions of Madness is very Lovecraftian, cosmic horror, gothic horror in nature, in the theme of the game, and the app that you play along with basically adds ambiance and flavor to the adventure that you're going on. So these things are basically like little mini RPGs that you experience in a group setting where the scenario unfolds in different ways, though similar, but there are different details to how the map gets laid out, where key encounters happen, where key items are discovered. And as you go through this map, you have combat, you have puzzle games, you have logic games, you have like situations where you should be taking notes as you talk to people that are along your path. And then you get to these different points in the game where it's constantly testing you for survival physically or survival for your psyche, your sanity, basically. And it is a really, really fun game to play because of my personal experience playing RPGs in video games that I've found, like either whether it's like action RPGs, JRPGs. But if you enjoy taking the role of a character and then trying to play a game a certain way, in line with that character's specialties, their special moves, special abilities, and then try to kind of like fabricate a little mini strategy to get to the goal, even though you don't really know the goal. Even discovering the goal in some of these scenarios is kind of the mystery as well. And it is just a really super fun game or super fun way, I should say, to make board games much more dynamic and to add like an audiovisual interactive element to the board game where it's not just Monopoly, where you lay the board out and you basically know how to play the game. You want to get the expensive pieces, you want to get the railroads, there's a preset way to play. Not so with these app-driven kind of RPG campaign games. Things change, and not just based on the number of players that are involved in each scenario, but also which characters you bring into them. You know what I mean? So it's a really, really cool and fun way to rediscover the magic of board games, because it is definitely not your daddy's or your granddaddy's Monopoly. I mean, these are board games that are made for people who enjoy video games, who love like the dynamic layers of play. And I really, really recommend to everyone, if you have the opportunity to play app-driven board games like Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition and on, and then also the Lord of the Rings, Journeys into Middle-earth, they are a lot of fun. The only thing I wish they would do in terms of integrating the technology aspect of it through the apps, the one thing I wish they'd be able to find a way to do is to make kind of like a cross-couch play through the app where people that are in two completely different areas physically, as long as they have all of the base physical parts of the board, that way you can actually play the game in a huge group setting, and then everybody just lays the tiles in the same fashion as the app dictates, but then you can all share in this, shared experience, the way that you can play, multiplayer games online. So far, there's been no development in that regard, and that is perhaps, that's an area I would totally suggest to Fantasy Flight Games, finding a way to make multiplayer gameplay through the app. And honestly, I'd even love to pay for something like that, because the one weakness that physical board games have that video games do not is that you need actual people ready to play. Online games, if you want to just play online against human competition or cooperation, you just get auto-connected. But something like this, you're limited by the physical friends in your immediate vicinity. You're limited by geography and opportunity. Making cross-play function like connectivity, that could eliminate that severe and striking weakness, and it would really launch these kinds of games to the upper echelon. They're so much fun, and I got to tell you, both of you guys, if I ever have the opportunity, like we ever, return back to the motherland, and we get people together. I honestly think like we need to get a good group of people together, sit on down and play one of these games, because what I do is I obviously you run the app through a phone, a tablet, what have you, but I just transmit it to the big screen so everyone can kind of like partake in the ambiance and like get into the flavor of the adventure. And it's such a fun time. My wife and I play these games, and they're a blast and a half. It's an interesting narrative experience to go through these games and find these little nuances and and get into it. It's just so much fun. It reminds me of some of like the best stuff that some of the best multiplayer games. That kind of sentiment that I've had from some of the best multiplayer games I've played. Obviously, video games are a little bit more action-oriented when it comes to multiplayer, whereas, these app-driven board games are a little bit more nuanced and a little bit more accustomed to, every player has a number of things to do along their turn, and then they kind of have to figure out, what they want to do in order to advance to the next person's turn, and so on and so forth. But, everybody's interactivity with it, because these app-driven interactive board games, they're not competitive. They're all cooperative. You're playing against the game. You're playing against NPCs. You're playing against the boss, the boss monster, at the end of these scenarios. And you don't exactly know what their strength is going to be. If you accomplish certain things earlier in the map and you get to this point towards the end of the scenario, you might be in a better position to deal with maybe a smaller threat, as opposed to being totally unprepared for a monster threat that's just going to wipe you out. And as it pertains to, certainly for Mansions of Madness, as opposed to the Lord of the Rings game, I feel like there's a little bit more of a difficulty curve that's in the player's advantage. The Mansions of Madness game is by design punishing. Like, it is not, like, the success rate for actually winning scenarios without house rules cheating is very low. It's very low. It's a very difficult game because it's not just about discovering everything that you need to discover in the map in a timely fashion, because there's also like kind of an invisible clock ticking where events will trigger whether you've done something or not, whether you've discovered something or not. So there's that to take into consideration. But also there's an element of dice rolling on the physical player's part in order to, pass some of these physical and sanity challenges, as well as combat challenges, as well as puzzle challenges along the way, in order to determine success or failure at all these various points. So there's a lot of interactivity going on, both digitally and physically, in these app-driven board games. And I gotta tell you, it's just some of the best game-playing experiences that I've ever had, including all video games since I first became a gamer. So anyone out there, and you have access to a group of friends geographically close to you, totally recommend Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition, as well as every single one of its expansions, of which there are many, in addition to a whole ton of DLC scenarios you download from the App Store, and then the Lord of the Rings game as well. It doesn't have as much expansion-wise yet, but it will continue to grow because it's Lord of the Rings. That's that's an IP that is just like one of those things you start printing money. Mm-hmm. The only other drawback I have for these app-driven board games is that they're a little on the pricey side. The regular Mansions of Madness, the regular price point for 2nd Edition, to this day, is $99.99. So definitely look for it on sale. And all of its expansions are anywhere between $30 and $50 for each expansion. Now, with every expansion, you're getting new tile pieces for different types of locations where you'll be discovering. The most recent one was called Path of the Serpent. So there's a lot of jungle and ancient temple locations that you're delving into. You're also getting new characters and character minis to use in these scenarios, as well as their special abilities. And, of course, new and more dangerous monsters and creatures and horrors and ghosts and goblins and all kinds of fun things, as well as those minis. And I got to tell you, the quality on some of these mini pieces are pretty up there. I mean, they all come unpainted, but there are a lot of services out there that, like, if you don't want to paint them yourself and put the time and effort into making all those pieces look really, really nice. There's lots of services online that'll do it for you. Of course, it's a cost a little bit of a pretty penny. But these miniatures, for both the characters that you choose from and the enemies that you encounter, wow, it's they're pretty high quality stuff. So yes, these are definitely expensive games to get into. But man, I got to tell you, it's worth it because it's such a fun time, and it's even better if you got a good group of people that want to have like this cool group collective experience in a narrative way, in a mystery way, horror, action, combat, lots of adventure. It's great stuff. Just Fantasy Flight, my boys, you got to find a way to make this a little bit more interactive so we can reach across the digital divide and connect with friends and family across the country. So yeah, I don't really have like much else to say other than kind of like pump them up. I've been an enthusiast of these games for a few years now, a couple years solid now, and yeah, I mean, I just cannot talk enough good stuff about these app-driven games because this is definitely the future, and it's the way that board games can continue to stay relevant and popular by integrating with digital connectivity, making it more immersive, making it more than just a two-dimensional. Okay, here's the board, here's the pieces, roll some dice, and then you're done. Okay, well, it's a lot more than that. And I totally recommend for both Adam and Genesis, if we ever have the opportunity, we've got to get a game going on because it's just so good. So
yeah, I'd be down. It sounds like a lot of fun. As someone who hasn't seen a real person other than my mom since August, like, that's the biggest hurdle right now for me, I think.
Yeah,
So,
especially now,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then I have friends who aren't really into like board games or anything. Sometimes we could sit down and get to play, but they don't want to play Monopoly with me anymore, as previously advised. But
Right.
they don't want to really play any board games anymore. They're all like, get on Steam, get on PlayStation. So it's I'll have to convince them.
Yeah, and I totally understand that there's a huge convenience factor with video games. No,
Mm-hmm.
don't get me wrong. It's a huge deal, but I gotta tell you, there really is something to be said about using like actual three-dimensional physical things, interacting with them, and then also interacting additionally with the digital app. So I don't know. I don't know. You have to experience it for yourself. And granted, it's also not necessarily something for everyone because some of these games can be, well, they're not quick games either because these are narrative scenario JRPG. Well, not JR, but RPGs. So you're looking at a bare minimum 2 hours to play even the simplest scenarios. And some of them can get much more involved. Like, for instance, the Lord of the Rings one, it's like a full campaign where you're going through multiple chapters of a scenario where you must do it in multiple days. Otherwise, you're spending 8 hours to complete a campaign, and most people don't have 8 hours to commit to anything unless it's work or school. So, but yeah, totally recommended. It's a blast. It's a fun time. Anyone who's a fan of video games, and if specifically like narrative, mystery, puzzles, combat, if you're a fan of those kinds of like story-driven games, these kind of app-driven board games, they're definitely up your alley. You might not think so at first, but you get a couple rounds in, and you're like, oh man, this is something special going on here. So yeah, it's good stuff. Highly
Yeah.
I
recommend.
just checked the app, and it actually looks very, very interesting. I've always been interested in doing something along the lines of like Dungeons and Dragons type of thing. So to have like an RPG set up with that type of game, that's the first time I've ever heard of something like that. So I've never heard of an app-driven game before like that.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to. I would love to try it out. I mean, from what the app shows, it says in-app purchases. What do you purchase in-app for this game?
The in-app so for instance, when you buy Mansions of Madness Second Edition, you have when you go into the app, you can unlock different expansions to the game. Now, when you purchase additional physical expansions, and that gives you that option in the menu, you go into the option menu and you actually unlock the physical collections that you have, because then in the scenarios that you play, it will bring in elements from those expansions into those scenarios. So unless you have everything that you actually say that you have, the game will start throwing different tile pieces from different things, and like it'll start throwing jungle pieces in the middle of a house. And if you don't have that, then you're screwing yourself up. So you got to make sure that yes, it's the honor system, but I mean, like, it will literally screw up your game if you're not playing it correctly. But the actual DLC in-app purchases are for like additional scenarios for that are just made strictly for Second Edition. So or any other expansion that you already have associated, and it'll tell you like if you have if the in-app scenarios require specific expansions in order to make it go. But for the most part, these are just additional scenarios that weren't originally preloaded with just the base Second Edition or any of the expansions that followed. It gives you a lot of opportunity to really get more play out of your purchase. And as it stands right now, I own every single DLC and every single expansion for Mansions of Madness, with the exception of 2 expansion sets that are currently out of print and don't seem to be coming back anytime soon ever. I've actually made contact with Fantasy Flight Games trying to figure out, well, I can't seem to find any copies of these expansions anywhere, and the few places that do sell them are private sellers that are selling them for like $200-300 each, and I'm like, oh, I understand it's an out of print situation, that's why they're price gouging like that, but is there any plans to bring those things back? And they're like, no, as of right now it's not, which is sad because there are 2 specific scenarios in the app that you just can't have access to unless you have those pieces, because it's gonna. We actually tried it one time. My wife and I, we actually just tried. We went into the menu and said, well, let's just say we have those expansions. And we tried playing it, and like immediately it was calling for tiles that we just simply did not have, like right away. It's like, oh, well, that's great. So it instantly messed us up. So
What are the expansions you're missing? Because I'm actually looking this up on Amazon right now too, and I'm like, oh, there's a ton.
there are a ton, but it's I forget what they're called, but it's the ones that are not in the $30 to $50 price range. If you find ones that are like $150 to $300, those are the ones that are the out of print expansions. So, yeah, that's ridiculous. And that's the thing too. Those 2 expansions, they only add 2 additional scenarios to your entire library of scenarios that you have access to through. Hell, even if you just get the base Second Edition, you have access to a whole bunch of scenarios right off the bat, and that base set gives you a lot of pieces, a lot of characters, a lot of tiles. So, if you really want to get into it, definitely look out. Fourth quarter holiday time is right around the corner. This is a game that frequently goes on sale during that time of year. You can find some good sales on it. Get it for $20-30 off, and I cannot recommend it anymore. I mean, I wish I could work for Fantasy Flight. I can make a career just pumping up their product because it's so much fun, so much imagination, creativity, and it just presents so many fun opportunities. And honestly, these are games that you can also play solo. You don't really need a group. I'm just saying that you enjoy it so much more with a group, but you can totally single player these games, and it's still a huge challenge. Hell, you could even just take control of like 4 or 5 characters by yourself in an attempt to win these games, and you'll still probably lose because it's a challenge. It's a tough one, but it's so much fun because there's just so much flavor. There's so much lore and mystery, and yeah, it's just so it's just so good, so good. So highly recommend Fantasy Flight games, the app-driven board games, Mansions of Madness Second Edition and beyond, and Lord of the Rings, Journeys into Middle Earth. So, and that's my time. And
I
that's
like
my
it.
time.
I like it. I like it. I like it. All right. Move up to my section here.
Dennis, what's the internet whispering to you this week?
The internet's pretty silent this week. They're not really saying much. I guess everybody's so focused on getting a PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X that the internet's forgotten to mention a few things to me this week. A couple things. I'm gonna do a couple of discussions here and just I guess get our thoughts on a few things that have been announced news-wise. So the first thing I'm gonna go over here is just the comment from Sony that's been made, because I think originally Sony was under a all next gen type of deal where they wanted to make sure that, hey, we're ready for next gen, we want to have all these next gen games come out, and now they're saying that their transition from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 is now going to take 3 years. More cross gen games are incoming. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Adam, you want to tackle this one first, or?
I'm thinking if you want to go.
All right. That to me is the first piece of real evidence that current gen definitely has more staying power than the majority of the panel had to suggest about PS4 generation last week. I believe that was everyone here plus Kevin saying no, we needed to get into PS5 generation much sooner, if not a number of years sooner. And I was like the lone dissenter saying, hey, I feel like this generation still has plenty of run left. I think this is the first real evidence of them showing that, and not just from the hardware developers standpoint, but also from the software developer standpoint, because transitioning to brand new operating systems, brand new code, brand new that's a huge cost that not every software developer has the team. They don't have the infrastructure to just flip that switch and then just start making new games on a new platform as easily as others. And it's never easy. Granted, this is not a thing that's easy for anyone. There's going to be growing pains with every new generation, and I understand that. But I feel that this particular generation, the PS4, Xbox One generation, console generation, I think it opened things up to software developers in a way, specifically to indies, but also to the industry in general, that I feel like just didn't exist before. And the types of games and the variety of games, big, small, very unique ones, very niche ones. I feel like it's been the largest collective of game types that we've ever had before. And, I just feel that there's still more juice out of this generation. And I'm glad to hear it. I want to get a PS5. I'm not going to be a day one buy for lots of reasons, but not because I dislike PS5. I definitely do like it. I love the promise. I love the promise of everything that it's been saying about it. But I also really appreciate the fact that I'm still going to get some run out of my PS4 Pro. So, yeah, it's good. I think it's good news to me.
Adam?
I would say yeah, it's good news. Because there's a lot of people on PlayStation 4, and that's probably the reason why they're doing it. I still maintain that we were ready to move on within the last couple of years. But yeah, I pretty much agree with everything Giuseppe said. We just come down to a different conclusion. But still at the same time, yeah, good, cool. Support it for as long as you can. If the PlayStation 5 sales are anything like the PlayStation 4 sales, we probably won't see too much. It won't go for 3 years. You'll see like games
I
coming to it, but there won't be. Eventually there will just be so many games that are not coming to it that there's no reason not to get a PS5.
I would agree. I think I'm gonna. It's news that doesn't. I don't really care for it particularly. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other. But I think it's two things: is the install base of the PS4. They can't just leave all those people in the dust. Because obviously not everybody will be able to get a PlayStation 5, even though they're saying it's 12 times the amount of. I don't know what they say in the first 12 hours they sold what it took 12 weeks that PS4 sold.
Yeah, for
I mean, if you're
pre-orders.
looking at if you're looking at that kind of numbers, PS5 is going to be a fantastic seller. But I think they still have. What did they reach last time for PS4? 100. Kevin would be very useful in the situation.
110, 107.
Yeah,
I think it's
I mean,
110.
so in the first launch, first two launch months of PlayStation 5, we're thinking, I don't know, 15 million, 12 to
No,
15 million, somewhere around there. No?
no. It's like their projections are 7 million by February, I think,
Okay, so okay,
something like that.
I overstepped. I don't
Yeah,
know.
oh, you're
Maybe
good.
I was thinking of I was thinking of a different figure. I think they were saying how much they want to get worldwide or something like that. I don't know. Shipped by maybe I'm thinking of.
Yeah, maybe.
Um, So let's say 7 million at that point. You still have a majority, a very, very big majority of people still on the previous gen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, and it's not like those games are particularly holding the current gen, the new gen back because we're seeing such a big increase with just the ray tracing, the frames, the solid state helping it out, and just overall performance on the games. Like Spider-Man Miles Morales looks and operates 100 times better on PlayStation 5 than it does on PlayStation 4. With the ray tracing, with the better performance, all that good stuff, and just the loading times in general. That I think is the biggest thing for this upcoming gen. They just couldn't
It
do it
is,
on current gen.
it is, but you know what? This is the thing, and that one biggest strength that you point out is at the same time a weakness for the next generation transition, for the simple fact that there's number one not going to be a ton of games that are specifically earmarked for next gen consoles to take full advantage of the hardware capabilities there. So people are number one less inclined at that. Number two, any of the cross gen titles, while maybe astronomically outperformed in next gen hardware, they still have their current gen consoles for people that are fortunate to own them currently, and just getting simply better performance while out of whatever kind of amount of backlog they want to bring over to next gen. Is that enough to get people to buy in to a new console when they have the current console and they just want to play a new game? I mean, it's a catch-22, and quite frankly, unless people have a whole lot of disposable income, they just suddenly don't know what to do with. Practicality is going to win out in the end. I think you're going to see more people hold out onto those cross-gen, previous-gen titles for as long as they can. For money, actual availability of the product too. You just mentioned 7 million, blah blah blah. You mean like that's a decent amount to start off with, but that's like you said also earlier, the install base currently for PS4 generation. So that's a lot of numbers to just instantly flip the switch on. And it's going to take some time to get those units out there to actually produce enough, as well as producing enough games to actually bring people to that generation. And not only that, but also that those storage issues for that SSD drive, because those install games, what Call of Duty for PS5 is going to be what 150 some odd gigs for that install. That's a big
Yeah,
chunk for
about
one
just
game.
about. Yeah.
Big chunk from one game. And if everybody else wanted to go in and start, installing all their previous gen, titles that will work and perform better on PS5, boy, man, oh man, that hard drive fills up real quick. So yeah, that those storage solutions need to. That's another thing that's holding next gen back. And I think that's another thing that is kind of like leading into this whole, hey, we're going to have a little bit more cross-gen titles available for a little bit longer. It's not just going to be like a flip in a year and a half. It's going to be a little bit longer. I think that's
So,
another
like,
reason why.
especially with the only other thing that I would say is, especially with the exclusives and everything like that, like Ratchet and Clank is not coming to PS4. That's going to be a PS5 exclusive. They've already confirmed that that's PS5. Demon Souls, same thing, PS5.
Gran Turismo.
Gran Turismo is PS5. Horizon has been confirmed, I think, on both.
Yes.
And then we don't have any confirmation of God of War, whatever the next Naughty Dog project may be. And then, so on and so forth with Sony exclusives. The only Sony exclusives that are on both right now are Spider-Man, Sackboy, Horizon,
Bugsnax.
and Bugsnax, yep.
Bugsnax is going to be available for PS4?
Yeah.
PS4, but if you have a PS5, you get it for free.
Well,
But, and Destruction All-Stars, I think, is a 5-only title, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. So, you will have the normal third parties release it for everything, because that's just more money in their pocket for them. The more consoles they can attach to, the better their product's going to sell. For the exclusives, when you want to get, like, Ratchet and Clank PS5 cannot be done on the PS4. With the way that they're doing you get from one area to the next and the next to the next in like a matter of a second, you would be going through loading screens, I don't know, 75% of the time while you play on that game. GT7, same thing. I think the what they're going for on that is, I don't think can be done on the PlayStation 4 in terms of just raw power and capability with the SSD. We're gonna see probably cross-gen. I think Adam's a little bit more closer to the 1.5 year to 2 year mark, rather than 3. I don't think it's gonna be 3. Once your adoption rate goes up by the second year, and we kind of exit this, well, who knows how long it'll take, but once we kind of exit this lifestyle that we're in with the environment that's going on this way, the adoption rate will go higher for these next gen consoles. And I mean, Microsoft does it in a very interesting way, and I think they have to do it this way because A, they don't have many games exclusive-wise to launch with, and B, their consoles from, I think, the 360 and on have been less and less about like how much can we draw out the lifespan of those consoles or entertain that install base, more along the lines of, we have X amount of games on the original generation. Now we're moving to next gen. We can also always use that to further pump up next gen by making it part of Game Pass. I think they did that for this system. I mean, Xbox Series X, the main thing you hear, or Series S, is, hey, you can play all your Game Pass games on either one of these consoles. And we have over 100 different titles coming at launch. Meanwhile, these titles have already been out. And Sony's leading with, we have these launch games. This is what's coming in 2021, first half, second half, and here's what we have remaining planned. I think they have to make the cross-gen statement just to make sure that, they cover the bases with, okay, we still have like 100 million people on PS4s. We'll probably support them for the next year and a half. Once we get enough people, I'd say maybe like 30, 40 million, PlayStation 4 will start to be forgotten at that point.
So the only reason I'm saying like it's less than like a year and a half or so is because I'm going with the lowest common denominator of the PlayStation 4. And then also with, I'm assuming we're both including the Xbox One in this as well, when we talk about support.
Sure.
Yeah.
And both those consoles can barely run the new games that are coming out. And I honestly don't believe that if next year comes around and the next Call of Duty is on everything, most likely that will be the case. I think that will be the last Call of Duty on everything.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's going to be a downgraded version.
Yeah, because the consoles can't run anything anymore. Because we all have pros, and people who have base PlayStation 4s, I always talk about this with Chris, who is a friend of ours, who's been on the podcast once or twice, only as a voice. He played God of War, and he has a regular PlayStation 4. Yeah, he is his buddy head. but he has a regular PlayStation 4, and when he was playing God of War, there was screen tearing, there was frame gaps, it stopped to load every so often. Like, that game did not run like God of War ran for us. Like, this
it was a very
crazy,
different
wonderful,
experience.
this crazy, wonderful experience. So I'm going with the lowest common denominator, but like I said, I agree with Giuseppe that obviously it's going to be supported, but just the time frame of it being supported, I just think it's going to be less than before because
The numbers gonna change, yeah.
I really think that the mid-generation upgrade kind of ruined the generation and how everything has moved along. Because
Which I don't think there's gonna be one this year. It doesn't this time. I
yeah,
mean, it doesn't.
I
It
don't think
doesn't
so either.
sound like. Yeah, it doesn't seem like and sound like it.
Yeah, I don't think
You know,
so. It's certainly possible, but I don't think it will.
yeah, yeah. I mean, who knows? Who's to say? It would be interesting to see if somebody, if there is going to be a console generation beyond, this next one that's coming up. It would be interesting to see if somebody went out of their way to make a console that was a bit more modular in order to give more modification possibilities into individual users' hands in terms of, upgrading RAM, upgrading storage a little bit more easily. I mean, things of that nature to give an actual customer the ability to expand on their own with their own budget, as opposed to just tossing a whole box away in favor of a new box that'll be good. Well, that's instantly obsolete the moment you take it out of the box, hardware wise. I don't know, but that's like a way outside idea there.
Well, what you're describing is a PC.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but PC gaming is not gaming on a budget. I mean, like you can make a decent quality gaming rig on a budget, but that's still much more expensive than a console.
Of course, it's always going to be.
And
It's always going to be. That's why there's consoles. That's why they exist.
and that's
They're made
why
for
for budget gamers, yeah, which is what I am and have always been.
Well,
but I was going to say, talking about this actual, this current gen / past gen support, I think another indicator for how long it ultimately has support wise from Sony or Xbox is going to be when that first permanent price cut happens. If it happens within a year or just after a year,
Yeah.
that's going to be a big time indicator whenever that happens. And I have a feeling it's going to happen sooner than a year and a half. I think honestly, I'm going to call it right now. I'm going to say in a year, you're going to see your first permanent price cut for next gen consoles.
Is the Pro still $399?
It is.
How?
$399. $399 still. Brand new Pro. $399.
So you can go to a store and just be like, well, I can just get the digital edition.
Right.
Of the
Sure
PlayStation 5.
If you can find it.
That's true. You can't go to a store. Don't do that. You got to go online.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. No. Be safe, people. Don't go in the store.
Also, they're not there.
I have a follow up question on those. Who do you think is going to announce the price cut first?
Xbox.
Giuseppe.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel it's going to be Xbox because they've been playing catch up since this generation in a big way, and you could even make the argument that they started to fall a little behind, even though they technically won last gen with the PS3 era, because PS3 definitely came on real strong at the end of its life cycle.
Yeah.
I mean, it stumbled hard out of the gate because of that price point and everything else that was associated with it. But man, there were some really legendary titles that came out on the back half of that life cycle, and they were definitely gaining ground. So yeah, Xbox has been playing catch up for a while, and I feel like they'd be the first to a price cut in order to get something else going on for them. Because I still, until they actually start weaponizing their exclusives and then saying, hey, look, you want to play these the new Fallouts and the new Elder Scrolls and all that stuff that they're acquiring, they start making those exclusives. I personally just don't see a reason for anyone to go to Xbox unless they've always been on Xbox ecosystem, and then that in and of itself is very, very little motivation to jump ship. If people out there are really limited to just one major console a piece, for their own entertainment.
Do they
So
sell
yeah,
Xbox One X's anymore?
One X's, I think, are off the market at this point in time. There is no
Okay.
older Xboxes anymore. You can only buy the Xbox Series S and Series X, and I think the One S you could probably find still.
Yeah, you can. The One S is $349 still. That's too much.
I
The
agree.
One S?
Yeah,
The
according to
One S
this.
is $299.
According to this. Oh, this is no, this is a renewed one on Amazon.
Yeah,
Shocking.
$299 from Best Buy for brand new.
Shocking.
The 1 TB one.
Gross. No thanks.
$299. Wait a minute. So the Series S is also
Same
$299.
price. Yeah.
That's weird.
So that's what they're
That's very
doing.
weird.
So at this point, it's like, why would you walk in buy any of the old stuff? You might as well just buy the new stuff. But
And this one, I don't think this one. Well, this one actually has a disk drive still. Yeah, it does. Yeah, the One S has a disk drive still. You can get the all digital version, the One S, 1 TB, for $249.
Oh.
Interesting. I don't understand their price structure. That's odd. Anyway, last question on this, and I'll move on to the next one. Is who do you think is going to support cross-gen more?
Xbox.
Okay. It's pretty much sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you're, it would have to be Xbox because Xbox is definitely
all they got.
Yeah, I mean, they are a much more third-party centric platform. I mean, Sony is a much more first-party centric platform. You know what I mean? And they always want to, they want to push the performance angle out of their signature titles more than anything else. So it would stand to reason.
Does that make them the more? I don't like using this word, but does that make them the more consumer-friendly, or I guess in the internet's terms, consumer-friendly corporation? Like, let's say Xbox supports cross-gen longer. Do you think people are more inclined to say, I like this corporation more because they support things like that, versus Sony saying, okay, you got 2 years left for your PS4 and then we're done?
I mean, you could make the argument, but I don't think that in and of itself is a demonstrative, example of being more consumer friendly versus the other. I mean, at the end of the day, both of these companies want to sell hardware and they want to sell software, right?
Yeah.
And they're just going to go about it however they want to go about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it is.
Okay. Comparatively, I think you can look at it and be like, yeah, that seems more consumer friendly. But for me, like, is it more? Yeah, at face value. But for me, if you're looking at like the PlayStation and the Xbox,
as a value
the value for Xbox is great. It's high. It's wonderful. But at the same time, like, you don't own the games that you're getting on Game Pass.
Right.
So as long as you keep paying for that, it's the same with Netflix, and I understand that. But at the same time, it's like you're renting everything you own except this box, which you actually might be renting from Rent-A-Center if that's still around, or if you're paying it off slowly at the Microsoft store that they have going on now. Like, it looks consumer friendly, but at the same time, like, I'd rather get new games now than playing old games. Like, I think I've been a very open person about it. I think backwards compatibility is stupid. That why everyone talks about it, it's confusing. Like, I understand you want to play your games. If you're not ready to move on, don't move on. I'm ready to move on. If PlayStation 5 didn't support backwards compatibility, I still would be like, well, I played all the games I wanted to play. Maybe there were some. Maybe I'll turn on my PlayStation 4 one day. I would just play all the new stuff. But at the same time, like, it's not a big feature for me, but it's good. It's good. So, but yeah, Xbox is totally going to support it longer because that's what they have to do.
Yeah. That's their plan.
Yeah, until they start doing something with first-party titles and actually making Xbox a signature destination for signature games, yeah, they're not going to change from that.
Yeah.
Until they do. Well, why change?
So the next thing I was going to move into is just these are a little smaller, so this will kind of end my segment out in a little bit. But just as we're looking at the end of this generation, sales wise and numbers wise and everything like that, what do we think PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X? I'm going to leave the S out of it and just the X, and just a disc version of the PlayStation 5 because I don't.
But they're going to combine all of that. They're going to combine them all. They won't.
Okay, so I'll combine them all.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'll combine them all. What do you guys think lifetime sales are going to look like for this based off of what you've seen previous gen, based off of what we know? What do you guys think lifetime sales are going to look like?
I can go first for this if you want.
Go ahead. Yeah, go first.
So if PlayStation keeps up the momentum they have, I think this is actually a strong contender for outselling the PlayStation 2. At the same time, I don't know if they will keep up the momentum they have because I've been a champion of Sony's for the last, I don't know, decade and a half, and I've seen them in what they've done before, and even some of the things that's come out recently that we talked about last week, and even Giuseppe talked about, like the SSD space. Like, that's a big thing for people. Like, is that going to stop people from buying it, or is that going to start all the negative news that comes out about the PlayStation 5, which kind of kills the hype towards this? There's so many factors that can happen. I really think that could overtake the PlayStation 2. But as it's getting closer and closer to the launch days of this week, Series X launching today, PlayStation launching on Thursday, I honestly believe that Series X and S are going to create some great competition with Sony. If they're coming out, and like, as much as I don't care about backwards compatibility, they're hyping up Game Pass, and that seems to be building subscribers quicker than anything else. And if I had a child and they wanted a video game console, I'd buy him an S, because that dumb little son of a gun can't ruin a $500 console. He'd ruin a $300 console, like if I was a parent. So the Series S is like, yeah, I'll buy you this. You want a PlayStation 5? Ooh, that's expensive. Here, have this. Here's $20 a month. Okay, you can play all the games you have. Like, it's a perfect, like, general consumer product, and I think that's what's really going to carry Microsoft in the beginning. And then if they start pumping out those exclusives, I think they really have a good chance. Will they come up to PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 2 numbers? My guess is no. I think it'll still be like a better 360 numbers. Like I think those ended up topping out at like 90 million or something like that, or whatever. I think it was 80 something. PlayStation 3 was 90 something.
I'll give you numbers right now. PS1 was 102 million.
I was almost
PS2 was 155 million.
Yep, number one, baby.
PS3 was 88 million.
Oh, 88, okay.
PlayStation 4 was, as far as we are looking right now, 112.
Yeah, 112. Okay. I think 360 was 80, 84. It was really close. But yeah, I really think that it's going to be some good competition. But if everything continues going the way it's going, PlayStation 5 is going to be the clear winner. And then all of a sudden, Nintendo's going to come up from behind and win. So, Giuseppe?
That's a plausible situation because of goddamn Nintendo right now.
Well, yeah.
Okay, well, there's their own thing.
Yeah, they're good at that. First of all, no one is ever gonna beat the PS2 sales numbers. That those numbers are not going anywhere anytime soon, because especially if you take into consideration the whole shortening of console generation life cycles, it's just not going to happen. That's not to say that either the next gen PlayStation or next gen Xbox, that's not to say that either of those are going to sell poorly. I'm sure both are going to sell very, very well. They're just not going to beat. They're not going to challenge that PS2 number. It's just not going to happen. Hard stop.
Well, quick
that
question.
being said, yes.
You said shortening of console generations. The PS2 came out
Yeah.
in 2000 and then went to 2006 before the PS3 released in 2006. That's only 6 years.
It's a 60, yeah, okay, but I mean, there was a ton of titles being pumped. I mean, the
Yeah,
variety of titles for PS2. Uh, I don't think we've seen that in any console generation that has followed it.
no, don't get me
You
wrong,
know,
but you said shorter console generations,
yeah, yeah,
but it seems like they're
but
getting
I'm saying,
longer.
well, I don't think they're. I don't think. I think 6 years for this next generation. I think that is definitely going to be the cap, if not sooner than that. Because, like I said before, I still feel like how many years are we on this current gen?
7.
7 years. I
7 years.
still feel there's a solid year more of just this current console generation with and then bringing in next year the next gen consoles. But again, that's just my personal opinion. Um, I don't see that being the case. I think 7 years is not going to happen at all for next gen. I think 6 years, possibly 5 years, is going to be the cap. Because I don't think they're going to go the route of a mid cycle like a mid tier console re release. I think you guys are right that the base units that we're getting now are going to be basically it. They might release versions of the same unit with different physical configurations later on. Um,
But
but that being said,
PS3 to
that being
PS4 was also 7 years.
right. So, but yeah, that was a long generation, and I enjoyed that very much as well. But that being said, I personally just don't know enough about what either of these companies' ambitions truly are with their consoles. I mean, I have a decent idea of the hardware capabilities. Um, I still need. I'd like to know more about what the software functionality beyond just playing games is capable of on either of these consoles for the next gen, because in my opinion, that's going to be the true determining factor for how long they're sustainable for, how long they can be relevant for. I'm not just playing pretty games in a better way, in a quicker way regarding load times. Um, So until I find out more about that, and I won't have a solid idea of that until a solid year into the next gen life cycle, I couldn't say. I'm sure both next gen consoles will sell very very well eventually. I don't think either one of them are going to come close to challenging the PS2 numbers. Um, but we'll see. I mean, once I find out more and find out hopefully more regarding to the expanded adaptability and functionality, making these consoles more than just a box that plays games. Um, which Xbox, through their more service based focus on their hardware, being like the gateway to service as opposed to games in the singular sense, in the physical disc sense, they seem to be trending in that direction. But I personally would like to see these next gen consoles have full integration with social media, full integration with any other kind of digital service that you have, to come as close to replacing, a PC alternative for just base functionality as possible. I would love to see that, and I don't really see it right now. But again, I have no idea what these companies' their true ambition with these next gen consoles are. Like I said, give me a year, and then I'll be able to tell you how close they'll come to challenging PS2. But they'll never beat it. So
Just a interesting couple things I was looking up here. So Adam made an interesting comment before with the Nintendo Switch coming from behind and stabbing everybody in the back.
I didn't say that, but yeah, keep going.
I'll spin it that way because
spun,
um,
consider it spun.
um, the Switch in the three years that console's been alive, that thing has managed to sell 68 million units with a library that is smaller than the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox library. And it's insane how fast ground that console has gained.
Hmm.
Um, I think that is going to cap at about 80 or 90 because if we see the Switch 4K come out, then that will immediately drop, and people will start to flock to the 4K version of it, as history has shown with Nintendo consoles. As soon as a newer version of it comes out, people flock and immediately sales drop for the older version of it, and they just don't go for the older version anymore. At least the Nintendo gamers I'm talking about. The casual gamers, your mom and your pops and your grandmas and your grandpas will walk in and say, I want this Nintendo console because my grandchild or son or daughter or whoever it is wanted it. They'll buy those, obviously. But,
would they count that as a separate Switch, though?
They do count it when you look at it. When you look at it as consoles being counted, because the 3DS and the DS were two different systems. What
about the Switch and the Switch Lite?
The Switch and the Switch Lite.
That shouldn't, right?
No, that shouldn't count
because
that way.
The Switch Lite doesn't connect to your TV.
Yeah, but the Switch 4K would count as a new system at that point. The Switch Lite doesn't count as a. I think it doesn't. You know what?
Why? Yeah, I don't understand how that works.
That would be classified as a handheld. It's weird. Yeah, that should be classified as just a handheld, not a in between. But I think once that Switch 4K drops, we'll see the numbers for the Switch drop. And it's very odd because Nintendo really doesn't have a library that people. Well, I shouldn't say people, but their library doesn't boast anything that crazy unless you want Pokemon, Zelda, Mario, or Smash.
Well, each of those games have sold close to 20 million or more.
Absolutely. And it's mind-boggling how those have sold so much, and it's like, well, it's the same genre over and over again.
As much as we tout the PlayStation exclusives, they don't come close to that.
No, I understand that they don't. I mean, there are a bigger variety of PlayStation exclusives, but yeah, there's 4 basic different varieties on Nintendo. It's either Smash, Mario, Zelda, or
Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing, yeah. That's basically it. Or Pokemon. Sorry, 5 different varieties. I'm sorry about that. As far as what I think of the numbers, I think PlayStation 5 is on its way to hitting. I would have to say in at least 105, 110 would be a safe bet by the end of its life cycle, whenever that decides to be. It's already poised to be a very, very strong contender in everything that it's going to do. As long as, I think I have to agree with Adam, as long as Sony doesn't, go a little crazy out of their ways and, they mess something up, I think they'll be just fine. I think they will be able to hit that 110, 105 mark very easily, as well as they're going to have a significant lead against Xbox for 2 major reasons. One is the lack of exclusives on Xbox, because we'll be real here, the acquisition of Bethesda is not going to happen for another 2 to 3 years, meaning nothing is going to come out of it for the next 2 to 3 years, because they still have to close this deal next year, and then only after they're going to start to then realign things and get the projects worked on and start to have any sort of inkling of like, okay, here's what we're going to do with these games and here's where we're going to put them.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. However, there is one factor that nullifies the time thing, and that's money. And Microsoft has a lot of it.
Yeah,
so if Microsoft wanted to, they could make it happen if they wanted to, if they really wanted to. And that's why, again, this is all dependent on a lot of what ifs. What ifs. And like I said, if I were Xbox and I were Microsoft trying to make Xbox succeed, I'd want these things to actually work out well for my acquisition's favor, and I'd move heaven and earth to get those exclusives running on my box sooner than later. But it remains to be seen if that's what Microsoft wants to do with their acquisitions. It remains to be seen. We just don't know.
They definitely have more capital. I will give them that. And they've been trying to do this for years, even since the end of the 360 era into the current generation that we're entering now. They've been trying to be what Sony has become, with one of their biggest blunders or backfires on them, which was the PlayStation 3, and they've recovered from that very well, and they've learned what they can do to just crank out these games that become those quote unquote system sellers, or become those exclusives that everybody wants, and they want more of, and they want more of, and they always want to see what's next coming from the studio. What's Sony gonna pop out next? What are they gonna do next for this game? How are they gonna reinvent this? That's the formula that even if you buy Bethesda, even if you buy Sega, even if you buy name brands and things like that, Xbox and Microsoft just can't seem to get that down. That's something that Sony's mastered, I think, throughout all their ups and downs that they've gone through. I mean, we were looking at a point where during the PS3 era, the sales were so far back. I think, what were they considering? Like taking a huge loss on it and going red for some financial quarters, and then they had to dig themselves out.
Yeah, they did.
Once the PS3 started becoming profitable, because they created such a big hole for themselves. And only I think it was midway through the 4, they actually got into the green and they started putting money back into the bank so they could do things with it. So they've come a very, very long way, and I think that in itself is just going to keep them grounded in where they need to be to say, okay, this is our vision, this is what we need to do. A side fun fact, I really wish they would do something better than what the Vita did for handheld, because the PlayStation Portable did 82 million. That's insane. Comparatively, the DS family did 154 million, and then the Game Boy Advance family did 81 million. So,
Yeah, there's a market for handheld. I mean, look at all the money that's made off of app games for cell phones. I mean, it doesn't matter what your physical platform is. There is a market for handheld gaming. As just said, nobody's been able to challenge the king, and they haven't realized that in order to challenge the king, you need a slate of titles, and not just ones where it's like, well, you have 3 or 4 that are like, definites and a whole bunch of trash to accompany it. No, you need, Well,
that's why it sold 82 million. They had a good slew of titles.
It approached that. The slew of titles were a little bit more Eastern centric. You know what I mean? Like they didn't bring that level of ambition over to the West.
I would agree.
That would have pushed them a little bit closer to the top.
The two things that killed them, I think, was the proprietary memory and the
of course,
the proprietary games, which were, what the hell were they called? UMDs.
Yeah,
those two things killed them really badly.
One more thing, talking about this transition from current gen to next gen too. This is another thing that we're totally very just kind of brushing aside, and it's definitely one of these things that everyone's forgetting about. But we're seeing a $10, if not more, price hike in games for next gen and beyond, and the market is not going to like that. And however you want to look at it, whether it's it'll go away, people get over it, blah blah blah. People already spend that amount of money on games now currently. Yeah, all those observations are fine and well, but it's still at the end of the day paying more money for games than people have ever done so before. Base model games out of the gate, whether they're broken, whether they need 10 gig day one patches, doesn't matter. That factor alone is going to contribute to a slower market growth, that install base for next gen. Certainly in the first couple years. I think you're going to find it's not that the current gen is definitely going to outpace the rate of that install base growing in the first couple years. I think it's going to take at least 2 years for the market to really get comfortable with the fact that, hey, these companies are now going to be charging more money for base level games on top of microtransactions, on top of season passes, on top.
Mm-hmm.
And that in and of itself is going to be a big reason for casuals and people that are gifting next-gen consoles to whomever to pump the brakes a little bit, and then definitely give it a little bit of a pause, consideration-wise. Again, I still think next-gen consoles are going to sell exceptionally well eventually, but I don't think they're going to be charging out of the gate with like record-setting numbers. Maybe for the first couple weeks, but it's going to tail off real quick when people realize, wow, I spent like $200. I only got 2 games, and oh my gosh, I can only really install one of them, and then I have to delete X amount of games before I can install the next one. I mean, there's so many things that are kind of like as bright and shiny and hopeful as these next gen consoles are. There's a lot of practical logistics that are pretty obvious stumbling blocks that honestly neither console has really like gone out of their way to just like ease the market about, and even the market is not so aware of it because it's just not the headline catching details about them because everyone's so hyped and excited for them. And I don't want to take that away from anyone, but that's also reality too. So, until those solutions are, kind of like, massaged away, that's very real practicality that, is going to give people pause. So,
Question for you.
That's something else. Yeah.
So you said you think it's going to tail off. When do you think it will tail off?
The next gen console sales?
Yes. You said it's going to sell well at first, but then just tail off because the market's going to realize. When's the? Give me a.
I don't know. Maybe I think it'll sell really well in like the first month, 2 months, and then it'll start tailing off after the first couple
January?
months. Sure. Yeah, January, February. Yeah, we'll call it out in that range. I just again, it's just a couple of factors. The higher price point of games, the availability of games, the variety of games.
Definitely valid points. I think those particular things, and correct me if I'm wrong, have they been the only ones to confirm the price hike?
Of 70? No. EA did as well, right?
Has Microsoft had Activision. Any? Well, they don't have any exclusive games coming out right now,
Activision,
right?
yeah, Activision. Yeah, Microsoft hasn't done anything, and I don't know about Ubisoft. I don't think they have, though.
They haven't either. So, as far as the price hike goes, I mean, the thing is that people, like Demon's Souls is price hiked. What do you call it? The Miles Morales Ultimate Edition, the one that includes both Spider-Man and Miles Morales, is also price hiked.
People are still buying multiple things.
That is,
yeah,
that has multiple things. The only
well,
real
also
one I can
it's normally it's 50 though, and not like if it's just Miles, it's 50, but then if it's on PS4, it's 40.
Yeah. The only one I can really speak to is Demon's Souls, because that's the only full-fledged exclusive title right now that's a single game that's $70. And people are still...
Godfall?
Is that...
That's 70.
Is that 70?
Yes.
Is that 70?
Okay. That's trash.
I totally forgot about that.
Destruction All-Stars was 70, I believe.
But that's going to become free anyway in February when it releases.
Well, yeah, now it is, because that wouldn't have sold.
The only thing that's going to mitigate that is, again, kind of like blending into what I said previously regarding the first permanent price cut for next-gen consoles, is going to be the higher frequency of price reduction of games after they're released. I think you're going to see price cuts and sales on games at a much higher rate and coming much sooner after launch than ever before with this next gen, because I see a lot of companies sitting on inventory as a result of the price hike. That everyone's going to jump in to some degree, because if enough of the big boys are doing it, then everybody has to do it just to keep pace. So that would be a way to mitigate it. And I believe that's going to happen regardless, whether or not this next gen was going to have a price hike for base level games or not. I still think this next gen coming up was going to see a higher rate uptick in the price reduction after launch for games. But that's also going to, I believe, it's going to feed into the slower install base for everything. you know. And again, people are buying those games also, those at the price hike, because that's what's available now. You know what I mean? Like that's what's available. They don't really have a lot of choice in the matter. I mean, they want to make their shiny new box go, so the options are limited at launch. So of course
I'm gonna give an opposite statement here. I think instead of tapering off, I really think these next gen consoles are going to take off even faster than before. The only reason why I think that is the situation that everybody's in right now. With the way that the world is going, and I understand money plays a part into that. I get that. Not every country is in the same situation that we're in, where unemployment's through the roof, because some countries are providing universal basic income and things like that. So we're not, we're in a different situation versus other countries. But people have more time on their hands now because they're not traveling as much, they're not going out as much, they're not doing the normal things that people would who game now would normally do. And a lot of people are looking to gaming as a hobby, time waster, things that they can do, way to spend time with the family, just new things that they pick up. I mean, throughout COVID, there was when it first started. I mean, there was a huge uptick in just people buying PlayStation 4s, Xbox One, Switches and PS4s were sold out for like 3 months in a row, and nobody could find them. And then like eBay started selling like PS4 Pros and Switches for like outrageous prices, because people wanted them. They just needed something. And with how people have adjusted now, a lot more people have work from home jobs and things like that, and some of them are even permanent. So they'll really never go back to an office at that point, because there's no need for them to do that. I think because of that, as long as you have the income, which again, like I said, money does play an issue. I don't know what everybody's status is depending on what country you're in, but I think that's going to make that console generation even that much faster for adoption rate, because people will want to pick up that new thing to play all these different things on, because people have picked up a new hobby now. People who normally never would pick this up before, they would have never bought a PlayStation or a Switch or an Xbox to even game.
I definitely get what you're saying, but I'll totally take the Pepsi challenge on that. Every day of the week and twice on Sunday. I'm sorry, there's just far too many practical concerns about next gen, and not just about price, but also about value, because games have never been released and put out into the marketplace as broken and in as desperate need of patching after the fact as they've ever had before. So getting back to that quote by Miyamoto that I dropped last week, that Adam said at some point he was going to revisit that and try to, kind of like, make a little segment about it.
2 weeks ago.
Was it 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks actually.
That was 3 weeks.
It's 2 weeks. No, it wasn't 3 weeks ago. It was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Games are not. They're getting more expensive. They're getting more expensive to make, which is ridiculous. They don't have to be, but companies choose to because of mismanagement, poor allocation of resources, and a whole bunch of odd choices. But that's another topic for another day. But games are more expensive to make. Games are more expensive to buy, but the value of those games is going down. The fun factor is going down. The accessibility may be expanding, because there is this overall move for games that are not like exclusive PlayStation titles, or ones that have very specific ambitions by certain developers. There is this move to making all games this generic kind of experience. You know what I mean? Just it's it's Fortnite, but with this. Die Hard on a train, Die Hard on a plane, so on and so forth. But the video game equivalent to that. So if you try to justify price hikes with value, which again are two different things, that's further incentive for people to just opt out as opposed to opt in, and waiting for inevitable price reductions to make a less polished product even months after release. to kind of justify that kind of a purpose. I think that's something that the market is definitely smartening up to. I don't think there are a lot of dumb consumers out there, and certainly that doesn't apply to any of our listeners or certainly any of our any present company at all. But for everyone else,
I think that applies to some of our listeners. Honestly,
there's a lot of dumb consumers, but I would say the market in general, especially in regards to games, I think they're smartening up because there's so much information that is really exposing light on the situation more than it ever has before.
Smartening up, and I always use this example. It's like I'm just looking up the sales numbers of Pokemon Sword and Shield. That game was a broken, empty game, and it still sold 18 million copies. And it was sold at a $60 rate, and now they're charging $30 to input the missing pieces that they originally should have put in the game to begin with. So $90 now in total, and people are still buying it. 18 million copies are sold of that. For a 68 million base of a Switch community that plays the Pokemon games. I mean, 18 million for that brand is a good amount versus, like, again, a PlayStation exclusive, which most of them don't, I think, reach, like, they don't even reach 10 million. They don't even reach 9. You know?
Well,
so I don't know if the market is smartening up or it's just like, again, this is one isolated situation as well. I would have to look at others.
And not only that, but that's also a very particular example that you're putting out there. You're talking about an IP that has a rabid fan base that is as loyal to it as they are to their blood relatives. So there's a certain alignment affiliated to that IP that transcends standard market behavior. I'll put that'll be the caveat regarding that example. It's a valid point you make, but at the same time, that is something special. It exists a little outside of time and space there.
Well, that's it for my segment. Then I think we're at about 2 hours here. You guys want to call it at this point?
Adam, have any more nuggets of goodness for us? Or
Nope.
I'm certainly tapped. Genesis,
Nope.
I'm nothing else. You super tapped.
I am all done and done. That was my segment for the week.
Well, then that's it for Crafting a Chat, episode 15. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to part ways with you this week with sentiments of hope and good tidings and safety, and have fun and good times with video games, with your friends, and try to take it easy. Try to ease your tempers, ease your emotions, and try to enjoy, because we don't have a lot of opportunity to do it. We got to take those precious few moments when we can. So from your fine panel of Crafting a Chat here, Genesis, Adam, Giuseppe Jones, we want to send you all a fond farewell. Enjoy games, enjoy each other, don't be dicks to each other.
Good luck to anybody getting a PS5 and Xbox Series X, guys. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. Hopefully you can get some.
Twitch.tv/craftingachat. See you guys next week.
Au revoir. Bye.